Left, left, right, left. It took quite a few paces before the footsteps of the Cubs players matched the instructions he squeaked out. We were not a spit and polish kind of squad, despite the fact that we did do an inordinate amount of spitting. And we would be of little use if Kaiser Wilhelm's army decided to invade the north side of Chicago. Hell, we were going to have enough trouble defending Cubs Park from the visiting St. Louis Cardinals. We were simply putting on a show orchestrated by the baseball owners. It was an attempt to impress Secretary of War Baker, who was threatening to shut down Major League Baseball. Baker believed that healthy young men belonged on battlefields, not baseball fields. The team owners thought that by marching us around with bats on our shoulders, they could convince Uncle Sam we were training for war, not merely playing a game. I thought not even the U.S. government could be that gullible. There was still some reason to hold out hope for a reprieve, though. Baker had already given deferments to actors and opera singers for providing essential entertainment. I figured if opera could be considered essential, surely the national pastime was. As we reached second base, the lieutenant yelped, "Right turn, march!" I spun to my right and collided with Willie turning left. "Your other right, Willie," I said. I grabbed his shoulder with my free hand and turned him around. He had a bewildered look on his young face, and his cap was askew. It was also too large for his head, making him look like a kid whose mother had bought it for him with the hope that he'd grow into it. "This just ain't natural," he protested. "You're supposed to turn left at second and go to third. Who the hell runs out to center field?" "We're not practicing triples," I said. Although he was right. Nothing about this felt natural. We said nothing more, which I'm sure the lieutenant appreciated, since we weren't permitted to speak at all during drills, and scampered to catch up to our teammates marching toward right field. Any other park would have had an outfield fence to mark the perimeter of the playing field. Except for a high wall that ran from the left field foul pole to left center, that useful feature was omitted in the design of Cubs Park. In right field, bleachers sprouted directly from the grass. Only a low railing separated the seats from the field of play. With few fans occupying them, the bleachers looked like a wide, squat staircase. It appeared we could march up those steps and walk right into the second-floor windows of the Sheffield Avenue row houses that overlooked the park. "Company, halt!" I halted. Fred Merkel ran into my back. As the Cubs players stumbled into each other trying to maintain some semblance of formation, I decided it was a wise move on the part of the Army not to equip us with real rifles. One of us would have probably ended up getting his nose shot off. This little patch of Chicago, 4 acres of ball field nestled in the juncture of Addison and North Clark Streets, was a baseball oasis, a green cathedral in a blue-collar neighborhood. The field itself was splendid. The turf, a lush mixture of bluegrass and clover, shimmered with life, and the dark earth of the base path looked fertile enough to grow crops. After a week of sporadic thunderstorms, the weather was finally cooperating as if nature herself wanted to see a ball game. Gentle, cooling breezes blew off Lake Michigan. They sent wispy white clouds drifting across a high sun to provide soft shade for the park below. Taking in the view, one could almost forget that across the Atlantic, young men were dying by the thousands in trench warfare. Almost, but not quite. The war in Europe had taken a toll on baseball that was most evident in the dugouts. The players seated with me on the Cubs bench were far from prime physical specimens, and the Cardinals across the field in the first base dugout weren't any better. Not since the 1899 Cleveland Spiders had there been a Major League Baseball team comprised of such wretched-looking ball players. This year, with rosters decimated by players leaving for military service, it was the norm. Teams had to fill holes in their lineups with sandlot players, too young to fight.